It's the ultimate show planner for your next online talk, and I'm going to talk about some handy broadcast conventions that you could use to keep your audience involved and keep them in on that journey. And also, we're going to do that back by popular demand, the tune-out clues or cues and phrases, which are really handy and very important to know because you could lose your audience in a heartbeat and not even know why that happened. Now, the first thing that everybody's having problems with is obviously to get them in. In a television space, you work so hard to keep your viewers and to get your viewers in to sample new material, and it is a critical space to work in, so that's a little bit of marketing and promotion, but it also is something that could help you to really focus on who the audience is that you're catering for, and to really fine-tune your message so it lands and that through line really hits for that specific audience member that you're after, or the target market that you're after. I'm going to jump to this slide, which just talks a little bit about some audiences, the types of audiences that you get if you start talking about television or online streaming. You get casual viewers. Those are people who just walk in and happen to see something, and they're going to just see something because it entices. You get obsessed super fans. I'm talking about people who like things like, it's not going to come to me, the wonderful medieval story, and it just has ice walkers and dragons and all kinds of stuff. Why can't I remember the name? Then from there you get multi-show sort of mavericks. These are people who do their best to know everything about a show, and they really are detailed type people. And then you get people like me who are bingers. They will watch an entire series in a weekend. And you get the critics. Those are kind of 5 basic audience types. And what I want to show you about these audiences is that you could just fine-tune your message a little bit to talk to a specific one once you've identified which of those 5 you're after with the messaging that you do. And the first one I'm going to look at is, of course, the casual viewer. Now, the kind of phrasing that, because somebody needs to have their attention, if you posted something on Facebook that said, "Don't miss one of the best tonight at," you're immediately creating a kind of an urgency, if you like, that says not to be missed now. And that type of audience member would tune in for something like that to watch. If you love this particular show, then check out this tonight or watch this information because it's going to be worthy. So that's how you capture the attention of a casual viewer. If you're more after an obsessed superfan, you talk about "you deserve the right," or "test your knowledge against this," or "a behind-the-scenes exclusive. Find out how they do this and that and the other." Those are people who obsess about details, and because they're that particular type of viewer, they may be interested because their strings get pulled that drag attention or grabs their attention in that particular space, and because of that, they'll be there to watch your show. If you're talking about multi-show mavericks, these are people who have broad information and they're a little bit more specific and they're a little bit snobbish. They'll go for the critically acclaimed or backed by popular demand. It's a little bit more serious about what they watch. They're a little bit more of a discerning kind of viewer. So you want to get your language together to promote to that type of audience in that kind of space. The bingers, well, those guys, you just have to tell them that there's a lot of material. We have hours, a whole new series of, and you decide what you want to watch. So bring your popcorn. That's kind of how you get a binger. I'd say the hardest audience is possibly the critics, because those are the people who are going to go after the numbers. They're not going to be early adopters. They want to know endorsements. They want to see reviews. And now once you've placed your space of an audience profile that you go after, you can even see the kind of language that you need to use in your presentation in order to keep tagging the lines of that particular fish that you have on the other side. So see if there's any of those that work for you and see how you can use that. Now, the next thing that I can say is you then work to craft the message that you have to appeal to one of those specific types of audience members, and that is going to depend on this kind of viewing habit. So it's another route to look at how you could get your audience to get there in front of you when you're busy presenting. Now, we talked about this map earlier, and if you're a little bit close to the map, then it seems to just be a whole lot of stuff that's coming your way. And I think that it's important to know how you're going to use your map to work in your advantage. And so a map, this is Peter Greenway, director, who says, a map tells you where you've been, where you are, and where you're going. In a sense, it's 3 tenses in one. I like that as a quote because it scene sets how one could use this map. And the reason I'm bringing back this imagery of a map for you is to say television audiences get guided quite a bit. And sometimes if a talk is coming at you for a whole hour and it's just coming at you the whole time in a tone without some registration of where you are on the map, you may lose your audience. And that's why it's really important to create a kind of map for them. And if you think about it, that is what these kind of anchoring conventions do, like graphics that you see on the news. Lineup or headline in today's news, we're going to do this story, this story, and this story. The moment that you hear that in a lineup, you immediately have a frame of what kind of stories are going to be in the news today, and you know how you're going to tune in or whether you're going to come back later for the sport. So headlines are very important because they can help your audience to decide which parts and what they're going to watch. Up next, coming up, those are important after the break because it keeps people in during a commercial break or so, or still to come. Those are all ideas that give you a geography of what information is coming your way, and the moment that you can settle the audience into that, they're going to feel a lot more comfortable. So try that in a talk, see how that can work out for you, where you place bits of information for the audience in order to help them understand the structure of what it is that you're talking about. Now, in the same way that those visual cues can help them, there's also spoken word. So there's the back announce, and you can say, that was the interview with so-and-so, such and such. Remember, we're talking about this tonight. That's our topic. You see how I keep doing it every time in every segment that I go into, because it helps us to register where it sits in the big picture and how that works in our space now. Reminders, reinforcement, and reiterations. Very important. If there are phrases that you use regularly, they'll start working for your audience. Remember that you don't have to say all new all of the time, because an audience needs to be exposed to a message at least 6 or 7 times before they even notice it, let alone get bored with it. It is just how it works, and if it works like that in television and it works like that on online, I believe that it can work for you as well. And then, of course, the kind of still to come moments. Now, I'm going to touch on one more moment, which is the Pavlov's dogs, and really the importance of tune out words. You really have to work carefully as you craft your message and as you speak to audiences, not to allude to when it is going to end or whether we're going to close down now, because the moment that you start saying in summary, they're out of there. The moment that you say it's almost time to go, they're out of there. And if you work so hard during your webinar to get people in to come and watch it, to craft your message, to make sure that you're going to get your final moment of an upsell, an awareness, a point to a website, whatever that is that you have decided to be the true north where your presentation is heading, if you are using these words before they even get to that, they may not be there when you need to get to the message. And that is why it's so important to look at these words a little bit and go, what are the tune-out words? Be sure to check out that episode. We talked a lot about tune-out words and phrases, and that was also in the formatting show. Now, it is almost time for us to go, but don't you dare tune out, because we have a little exercise. I would like for you to look in the chat box right now. You're going to see a download, and it simply is an Insights download, which is a sheet that can help you to just think a little bit about ideas that we discussed tonight. Maybe even now, if you would, write one word of your feeling on this session in the inbox, because it is just something to trigger and say, that's the word that jumped, or this is a concept that jumped out for me. In the same way, you can write it down on a piece of paper, you can write it down on the actual insight sheet, and maybe decide about 3 top ideas that could be something that you could land and could work for you in your next presentation or talk. And then remember, the most important thing is to write it down, book it in a diary, create some time to think about this again and to work with this idea so that you can make it work for you in your next session.